Elena Rodriguez had been an oncology nurse at Memorial Cancer Center in Houston, Texas for 26 years. She was 54 years old. Started when she was 28, right after she got out. Nobody asked what she'd gotten out of. Oncology nursing was hard. Harder than most specialties. You watched people die slowly, watched families break apart, watched hope fade in real time. But Elena was good at it. Patient, compassionate, strong when patients needed strength, gentle when they needed comfort. She held hands when there was nothing else to do. She cried with families when the treatment stopped working. She celebrated small victories like they were miracles. Because in oncology, sometimes they were. The other nurses respected her. The doctors trusted her. The patients loved her. She was the nurse who remembered birthdays, who brought coffee for exhausted spouses, who stayed late when someone was scared. For 26 years, she'd been exactly what oncology needed, a light in the darkness. But Elena carried her own darkness, something she never talked about, never shared, never let show except late at night when she was alone, a weight that got heavier every year instead of lighter. Nobody at Memorial knew where she'd been before nursing school, what she'd done, what she'd seen, why she sometimes froze when ambulance sirens sounded like convoy warnings, why she couldn't watch war movies, why she kept a small metal object in her locker that she touched every shift before she started work. Until Tuesday morning. October 2024, 9:47 a.m., Elena was at the nurse's station, reviewing charts for her patients. Standard morning routine. Check labs. Check vitals. Check treatment schedules. Her supervisor, Karen, walked over with a tablet. "Elena, you're getting a new patient. Transfer from another hospital. Liver cancer. Stage 4. Prognosis isn't good. He specifically requested oncology nursing. Wants the best care for however long he has." "Of course. Send me his chart." Karen handed her the tablet. Elena looked at the screen, and everything stopped. Patient name: James Rodriguez. Age: 21. Date of birth: March 15th, 2003. The tablet slipped from her hands, clattered on the desk. Elena's face went white. Her hands started shaking. "Elena, are you okay? What's wrong?" Elena couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. She stared at the name on the screen. James Rodriguez. Born March 15th, 2003. 21 years old, the same age his father never got to see him reach. "Elena!" Karen grabbed her shoulders. "Talk to me. What's happening?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. Not the professional, compassionate tears she cried with patience, but something deeper. Raw. 21 years of compressed grief breaking through in a single moment. "I knew his father," she whispered. "What?" "Sergeant Michael Rodriguez, U.S. Army, Iraq, 2003. I was there when he died. I held him. I was the last person he spoke to." Karen's grip tightened. "Oh my God!" Elena stood up, hands still shaking. "I need to see him." "Is he here yet? Where is he?" "Room 412. "But Elena, are you sure you should—" Elena was already walking. Through the oncology ward, past other nurses, past patients, past everything, to room 412. She stood outside the door for a full minute, trying to compose herself, trying to be professional, trying to be the nurse instead of the soldier. But her hand kept going to her pocket, to the small metal object she carried every single day. The wedding ring Sergeant Michael Rodriguez had pulled off his finger with bloody, shaking hands and pressed into her palm 21 years ago. "When my son is old enough, when he asks about me, give this to him. Tell him I loved him. Tell him I died thinking about him and his mother. Tell him to be better than me." Elena had carried that ring for 7,670 days, through nursing school, through every shift, through every patient, waiting for a moment she thought would never come. She pushed open the door. The young man in the bed looked exactly like his father. Same dark hair, same sharp jawline, same eyes that held something older than his years. He turned to look at her, tried to smile. "You must be my nurse. I'm James." Elena's professional mask slipped back into place, but barely. "I'm Elena Rodriguez." James's eyebrows raised. "Rodriguez? We're related?" "No, but I knew your father. Sergeant Michael Rodriguez, Iraq, 2003. The room went absolutely silent. James stared at her. "You knew my dad? How? Where?" "He died when I was 6 months old. I don't remember him. My mom doesn't talk about him much. It hurts too much." Elena sat down in the chair beside his bed. Her hands were still shaking. "I was an Army medic, combat medic, attached to his unit. 3rd Infantry Division, March 21st, 2003, first week of the invasion." James leaned forward despite his obvious pain. "Tell me, please, nobody ever tells me anything. They just say he died a hero. But I don't know what that means. I don't know who he was." Elena closed her eyes, and she was there again. Back in Iraq, back in the convoy, back in the moment that had defined the last 21 years of her life. If this story of a nurse who carried a wedding ring for 21 years waiting for this exact moment already has you hooked, hit that like button and subscribe. What happens when Elena finally delivers Sergeant Rodriguez's last words to his dying son will prove that some promises take decades to keep, some missions never end, and some love transcends even death itself. Now let's go back to Iraq, March 2003, to understand why Elena Rodriguez became a nurse instead of staying in the Army. Specialist Elena Rodriguez, 28 years old, was an Army combat medic with the 3rd Infantry Division. 3rd day of the invasion of Iraq. The push to Baghdad. She'd been in the Army for 6 years. Deployed to Kosovo, Afghanistan, now Iraq. She was experienced, trained, ready, but nothing prepares you for convoy ambushes. March 21st. The convoy was moving through an area that intelligence said was clear. It wasn't. The RPG hit the 3rd vehicle. Explosion, fire, screaming. Elena was in the medical vehicle. When the attack happened, she grabbed her aid bag and ran toward the burning Humvee. 3 soldiers inside, all wounded. She triaged quickly. 2 could wait. 1 couldn't, Sergeant Michael Rodriguez, 27 years old, multiple shrapnel wounds, bleeding from the abdomen. Going into shock, Elena dragged him from the vehicle. Got him to cover. Started working. Pressure bandages. Quick clot. IV fluids. But the bleeding wouldn't stop. Too much damage. Too many wounds. Doc, I can't feel my legs. Stay with me, Sergeant. Medevac is coming. You're going home. No, I'm not. His voice was calm. Too calm. The calm of someone who knew. I'm dying. I can feel it. You're not dying. I won't let you. But Michael grabbed her hand. His grip was weak. Doc, I need you to listen. I don't have much time. Don't talk like that. My wife, Carmen, she's in Texas, Fort Hood. We have a son, James. He's 6 months old. I've only seen him twice. Deployments. You know how it is. Elena kept working, kept trying to stop the bleeding. But she also listened. I need you to tell them something. Carmen and James, tell them I loved them. Tell them I was thinking about them. Tell them... He coughed. Blood. Too much blood. Michael pulled his wedding ring off his finger. The movement took all his strength. He pressed it into Elena's palm. When James is old enough, when he asks about me, give him this. Tell him his father loved him. Tell him to be a better man than I was. Tell him to live. Really live. Not just survive like I did. You're going to tell him yourself. The medevac. Doc, please, promise me. Elena looked into his eyes, saw the certainty there. The acceptance. I promise, Michael smiled. Thank you. What's your name? Real name? Elena Rodriguez. Rodriguez. Like me. Family. He laughed. A wet, painful sound. That's good. Family takes care of family. His grip loosened. His eyes started to glaze. Carmen. James. I love. And he was gone. Elena performed CPR. 15 minutes. Even after the medevac arrived. Even after the other medics told her to stop. Even after she knew it was pointless, but she'd made a promise. And Sergeant Michael Rodriguez deserved every second of effort she could give. After Iraq, Elena tried to find Carmen Rodriguez, tried to deliver the ring and the message. But Carmen had moved, remarried, changed her name. The army couldn't or wouldn't help with the search, so Elena kept the ring, kept the promise, waited. She left the army in 2004, medical discharge, PTSD. She couldn't be a combat medic anymore, couldn't watch soldiers die, couldn't carry that weight, but she could still help people. So she became a nurse. Oncology, where death was expected, where grief was part of the job, where she could use her training to ease suffering instead of trying to prevent the inevitable. For 26 years, she carried Michael's ring, checked social media occasionally for James Rodriguez. But it was a common name. Texas was a big state. She didn't know if he'd kept his father's last name, if Carmen had told him about Michael, if he even knew his father had died in Iraq. But she kept the promise alive, kept the ring safe, kept Michael's last words ready for the day she might need them. Until James Rodriguez walked into Memorial Cancer Center with stage 4 liver cancer at age 21. Elena sat beside James's bed. The wedding ring was in her pocket. Heavy, significant. Ready. Your father died 21 years ago. March 21st, 2003. He was in a convoy that got ambushed. RPG hit his vehicle. I was the medic who treated him. James was crying. Quiet tears running down his face. What was he like? Was he scared? He was brave. He knew he was dying. But he wasn't thinking about himself. He was thinking about you and your mother. His last words were about you. What did he say? Elena pulled the ring from her pocket, held it up so James could see. The gold band was scratched, worn, but still whole. He took off his wedding ring, gave it to me, asked me to give it to you when you were old enough. When you asked about him. James stared at the ring. His hand reached out slowly, took it from Elena's palm, held it like it was made of glass. This was his. He wore this every day. He told me it was the most important thing he owned. More important than his rifle. More important than his uniform. Because it meant he had something to come home to. James slipped the ring onto his finger. It was too big, but he closed his fist around it. Holding it tight, what else did he say? Elena took a breath. 21 years. She'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. But now that it was here, the words felt inadequate. He said to tell you that he loved you, that he died thinking about you and your mother, that he wanted you to be a better man than he was, and that he wanted you to really live, not just survive, to live. James was sobbing now. Not trying to hide it, not trying to be strong, just letting 21 years of missing a father he never knew pour out. Elena moved to the bed, sat beside him, put her arm around his shoulders, the way she'd held countless patients. But this was different. This was personal. He also said family takes care of family. He didn't know you'd have his last name. Didn't know I'd have his last name, too. But he said Rodriguez takes care of Rodriguez. And I've been waiting 21 years to take care of you the way I couldn't take care of him." James turned to her. "You've been carrying his ring for 21 years. Waiting for me? I made a promise to your father. Soldiers don't break promises. But you're a nurse now. I'm a soldier who became a nurse. There's a difference. James's prognosis was bad. Liver cancer at 21 was aggressive. Rare. The treatment options were limited and the success rates were low. But Elena was with him every step. Not just as his nurse. As family, she called Carmen, James's mother. The conversation was hard. Carmen had remarried, had other children, had moved on from Michael as much as anyone could move on from losing their first love to war. But when Elena told her about the ring, about Michael's last words, about James being in the hospital, Carmen came immediately. Elena met her in the hospital lobby. Carmen was 47 now, still beautiful, but worn by life and grief and 21 years of being a single mother before remarrying. "You were with him?" Carmen asked. "When Michael died?" "I was. I'm so sorry. I tried to save him. I tried everything." Carmen hugged her. "Thank you. For trying. For keeping your promise. For finding James. I didn't find him. He found me. Maybe Michael had something to do with that." They went to James's room together. Elena stood back, watched as Carmen showed James photos of Michael. Photos from before deployment. Michael holding baby James. Michael in uniform. Michael smiling. "Your father was a good man," Carmen said. "Not perfect, but good. He loved you so much. He called every chance he got, sent letters, sent pictures of himself so you'd know his face when he came home." "But he didn't come home," James said quietly. "No, but Elena did, and she brought him with her, in that ring, in his words, in the promise she kept. James's treatment wasn't working. The cancer was spreading. The doctors had run out of options. He was going into hospice care, end-of-life care, the thing Elena had become an expert at over 26 years of oncology nursing. But this was different. This was James, Michael's son, family. Elena sat with him every day. During her shifts and after, she brought his favorite foods when he could eat, read to him when he was too tired to talk, held his hand when the pain was too much. James wore his father's ring constantly, never took it off, even when his fingers swelled from treatment and it got tight. "It reminds me he existed," James said one day, "that he was real, that I came from someone brave." "You are brave," Elena said. "You're facing this with more courage than most people twice your age." "I learned from my father. Even though I never met him, I learned from him. Through you, through the stories, through this ring." Carmen came every day too. She and Elena became friends, bonded by Michael, by James, by shared grief. "Thank you for keeping your promise," Carmen said one evening. "Michael would be grateful. I'm grateful. I wish I could have done more. For him, for James. You did everything. You gave James his father, even if it was 21 years late. You gave him that connection, that knowledge that he came from love." James Rodriguez died on a Tuesday morning, May 2025, age 22, but Elena was holding his hand. Carmen was on the other side. James's stepfather and half-siblings were there too. His last words were, "Tell my dad I tried to live. Really live. Like he wanted," Elena promised. Just like she'd promised Michael 21 years ago. At the funeral, James was buried with his father's ring. The ring that had traveled from Iraq to Elena's pocket to James's finger. The ring that had connected father and son across 21 years and death itself. Elena gave the eulogy. She wasn't family officially, but she was family in every way that mattered. I met Sergeant Michael Rodriguez on the worst day of his life, and the worst day of mine. I couldn't save him, but he gave me a mission that day, a promise to keep. And 21 years later, his son walked into my hospital, gave me a chance to complete that mission. James lived more in his 22 years than most people do in 80. He lived with courage, with grace, with love. He lived the way his father wanted him to live. Really lived, not just survived. And now they're together, father and son. Finally, with that ring connecting them the way it always should have, the military provided full honors, flag, rifle salute, taps, because James was the son of a fallen soldier. Family of the fallen got honored too. Elena stood at attention during the rifle salute. Old habits, old training, old grief mixing with new grief. Elena still worked at Memorial Cancer Center, still in oncology, still holding hands and keeping vigils and helping people die with dignity. But something had changed. The weight she'd carried for 26 years was lighter. Not gone, never gone, but lighter. She'd kept her promise, delivered the ring, delivered the message. Given James his father's love across 2 decades, Carmen stayed in touch. Called once a month. They'd talk about James, about Michael, about life and death and how time heals some things but not others. James used to ask me about his father all the time, Carmen said during one call. I never knew what to say. I was so angry at Michael for dying, for leaving us, for choosing the army over us. But Elena, those 8 months with the ring, with the stories, with you, those were the best months of his life. He finally knew his father, finally felt connected. I'm glad I could give him that. You gave us both that. You gave me my husband back too, the good memories, the love. I'd buried it under the anger and grief, but you brought it back. Elena looked at her locker, the photo she'd kept there for 26 years. Combat medic Elena, 28, in Iraq. Young, hard, ready to save the world. She'd saved some of it. Not Michael, not James in the end. But she'd saved the connection between them, the love, the memory, and that was something. Elena Rodriguez retired from nursing at 60. 26 years was enough. She'd given everything she had to oncology, to her patients, to James. She moved to Texas, near Carmen. They'd become best friends, sisters in grief and healing. Elena started volunteering at VA hospitals, talking to veterans, helping them process trauma, process loss, process the weight that combat medics and soldiers carry forever. She told Michael's story and James's story, about promises kept, about love that transcends death, about missions that take 21 years to complete. Young soldiers would ask her, "How do you carry it?" The ones you couldn't save. And she'd show them a photo. James Rodriguez wearing his father's wedding ring, smiling despite the cancer, connected to a father he never met through a promise a medic kept for 2 decades. You carry them forward. You honor them. You complete the mission. Even if it takes 21 years. Even if it breaks your heart. You keep your promises. At 65, Elena received a letter from the Army. They'd heard about James, about the ring, about the promise. They wanted to award her a medal for keeping faith with a fallen soldier, for completing a mission long after the war ended. She declined. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because Sergeant Rodriguez trusted me, and soldiers don't break trust. But they sent her something anyway, a plaque, with 2 names engraved, SGT Michael Rodriguezu S., Army 1976, 2003 KIA, Iraq James Rodriguez 2003, 2025 S on of a Hero below IT, an inscription, Some promises take decades to keep. Some missions never end. Some love transcends death itself. Thank you, Specialist Rodriguez, for bringing a father and son together when it mattered most. Elena hung the plaque in her living room, next to the photo of James wearing the ring, next to the photo of herself in Iraq, young and determined to save everyone. She hadn't saved everyone, but she'd saved what mattered: the connection, the love, the promise. And every night before bed, she touched the plaque and whispered, "Mission complete, Sergeant Rodriguez. Your son knew you loved him. He wore your ring. He lived the way you wanted him to. You can rest now. You both can."